Welcome, Molly, to the Success with Soul podcast. I am so excited to have you on here.
Hi, Indira. Always a pleasure to speak with you. I don't know, you have such a good energy. I'm happy to be here.
Aw, thank you. Just off camera, I was mentioning, I'm sorry if I'm low energy. So I appreciate you saying that.
You do.
Molly, you are an OG,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, I'm an OG hate fan, like Root and Revel from back in the day.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that is a true
Years and years and
OG.
years ago. Yeah.
So please share with our audience a little bit about yourself and your business and your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah. So I have run my own Instagram management agency and Instagram marketing consultancy. Is that a word? I don't know. For let's see, about 4 years now. And it all got started. Actually, I have Kate to thank for a lot of it because I was the ex corporate girl, which I feel like everybody has like that ex corporate girl story. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people could resonate with that. When I was pregnant with my daughter, who's now 6, I was in medical sales and I was just so burnt out. I was just so done. And I knew even before I found out I was pregnant, I was ready to move on, but I didn't know what I wanted to do next. And when I was about 14 weeks pregnant with my daughter, I just literally quit. I was just like, I'm done. Can't do this anymore. I had some money saved up. And had my husband obviously, and he was in the military. So we had consistent income there and we had insurance through him. And I was just like, I'm done. I'll figure it out later. So I was a stay-at-home mom for about a year. And then I realized I was not cut out to be a stay-at-home mom, that was the hardest job I had ever had. And I loved it while I loved not having to go back to that rigid schedule when she was teeny. But then when it came time, I was like, okay, I'm ready to do something, but I didn't know what. And at the time we lived in San Diego. I'm in Cincinnati now, but I'm from Alabama, lived in Florida, been all over. At the time we were in San Diego, and my chiropractor and I became really good friends. And she said, hey, I know you're looking to go back to work. Do you want to help me with my Instagram? And I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but sure, I can learn that. So I didn't even get paid. She just adjusted me for free and we did a trade, and then it really grew from there. So she had an acupuncturist and a massage therapist in her office. So I started working with him, and then she posted about it, and then some of her friends contacted me, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to make this a legit business. Well, right about that time was when Kate was hiring. This is way before Success with Soul, before she had even separated out her two businesses. It was still just Root and Revel. She did have her blog income reports she would do, but she wasn't really doing any business coaching or anything at the time. So I was on her email list, and she emailed, she was looking for somebody like a social media manager. And I was like, at first, of course, the impostery thing, I'm like, oh, I just started this. But I was like, I have a unique spin. I've literally consumed every single post and email from Root and Revel. I know your content like the back of my hand. So I applied to the job from the same email address that I was signed up to her email list on, so that she would see how many of her emails I'd opened,
Oh, that's genius, Molly.
Yeah, I was like, I wanted her to see how engaged I was. And I didn't even have a website yet. I didn't even have a website. I didn't even have a business Instagram yet. I was just like, hey, I just started doing this. And yeah, she gave me a shot, and we have been working together on and off since. And then I've hired her for business advice and was in the incubator. And yeah, we're friends. We've met a couple times. I've been to her house a few times in Atlanta, and we went to an Amy Porterfield event together a couple years ago. And yeah, that's the story. So fast forward now, and I've got pretty big agency. We run about 27 Instagram accounts. And then I also have a program called Holistic Marketing Hub, which is a hybrid program similar to the incubator. It's program's not similar to the incubator, but it's a hybrid program where there's, virtual classrooms and then coaching. And then there's a big copy paste content library for health and wellness professionals.
My gosh, that I feel like I literally went on that journey with you.
Oh, look at it. It's a
Yeah.
long story. I tried to make it short, but
So let's go back a little bit because you did mention that you joined the incubator. So what was your main reason at that time for joining the incubator?
I think, gosh, it's hard to even think back. I think I just trust Kate so much. And it was one of those things where I never want to be the person who's taking advantage of their friend, like not that she would ever say that or think that or whatever, but I'm like, she was always giving me such great advice that I was like, let me just pay you. Like it felt better to pay her for that help rather than, yeah. And as I said, she always just had such, I don't know, she's always has like a really good perspective and like a good way of talking you through things. I think I told her the best thing she ever did for me, it can't be measured in like profits or metrics or whatever, but like the best thing she ever did for me was she made me a better coach myself to my students, because she really does have a gift for like not just telling you what to do, but kind of coaching you through it.
Yeah, absolutely. So in keeping in theme with advice, what would be your best advice like to a new incubator client as to how to hit the ground running once they're inside?
I think it would be to put blinders on and follow. Do you still give the personalized roadmaps?
We do.
Yeah. Yeah, I would put blinders on and I would just follow the roadmap, because if you don't, what's going to happen is, especially on the group coaching calls, I saw some people kind of fall victim to this. Like, well, I want to do that. Well, I want to do that. It's like, wait. Let's like get the foundations done first. And that's why those roadmaps are great, because it helps to meet you where you are in your business so that you know where to start. So maybe you are somebody who kind of needs to go back a few steps and start from the beginning. Or maybe you're somebody who's already got all of that dialed in and you're ready to get your evergreen funnel launched or whatever. That's why, like, my number one advice would be to not have shiny object syndrome, by all of the information available inside the incubator and anything you might hear on the coaching calls from the other participants, and just stick with the roadmap. Put your blinders on.
So now that I'm thinking back to what you're referring specifically with roadmap. So I don't know if you know that now we've changed the incubator a little bit. Now it's a 6-month cohort. It's a mastermind. And we actually ask you to focus, to decide what your focus, like what your 1, 2, 3 focuses are going to be.
I think that's even better. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. So what are like some of the top 3 things that you would advise an incubator applicant?
Applicant or
someone who's like looking into the program, they're applying to join the mastermind?
I don't know. I guess just to make sure that you really are prepared to implement the things that you learn, because just being a passive and there's a time for that too, right? Like there's a time for just kind of taking little bits here and there. There've definitely been programs where I have paid a lot and not implemented every single bit, but like the bit that I did implement, I got a lot out of. So I think that the thing would be to, one, is like make sure you're really committing to yourself to be able to actually implement the things you learn. And then on top of that, to give yourself a lot of permission slips and a lot of grace to know that like 6 months is a long time, but it's really not. So
Right.
in the grand scheme of your business journey, 6 months is like a blip in time. And so I would encourage you to write down whether it's like a tangible metric or just your thoughts and feelings, because at the end of 6 months, we have this tendency to go, what did I really do? Like, what did I do? But if you can look back and go, oh my gosh, like I didn't even realize how much I was thinking about this the other day, just like little things that I've accomplished in my money mindset alone. Like, wow, it on paper, you're like, wow, I can't really measure that, right? Like I can't really measure, like I used to think this way. Now I think this way. So that's why I think it's important to really write down all those raw, not just the metrics of like, oh, I grew my page views by this much and my revenue by this. Yes, those things. those like raw emotions, limiting beliefs, and all the stuff that you feel in your business. And then that's like your measuring stick for the program.
Oh my gosh. And I mean, arguably, mindset is one of the most important pieces
Yep.
as
Mm-hmm.
you become an entrepreneur, right?
Yep. It's not sexy. People want to bypass it. They want straight to the tactics and the tips. And I get it. And I do think that's why the incubator is such a beautiful program, because I think it's a great mix of both. Like, it's not all fluff, woo woo. It's a lot of that, but there's a lot of tactical, tangible stuff too. I'm not saying fluff. There's not a lot of fluff. But you know what I mean? Like, it's not a lot of the, like, it's not just mindset, and it's not just here's my evergreen funnel. It's a beautiful mix of both, in my opinion.
I totally agree with you. Now, Molly, you're kind of famous on our podcast because we often, as we start the podcast, your testimonial often appears on the podcast. And so I know that one of the things, and I'd love for you to speak on, is like, what would you say was one of the biggest impacts that the incubator had on your business pretty early on your business?
I did not want to be somebody who had to rely on launching. I know some people really like that model. And I mean, the incubator to me felt very customized and very, like it was definitely, you got what you needed personally versus like, here's what's worked for me. Take my plan, plug it into your business. I don't care if it fits or not, because this is the proven path and this is the only path. So I do want to like get that caveat out of the way when I do say one of the biggest things I did get out of it was her funnel, like, being able to just plug in the funnel into Kartra, which I know sounds completely counter intuitive to what I was just saying about it not being cookie cutter, but because she doesn't teach that's the only way, right? But for me and for my business model, it worked beautifully to kind of have that set up. And it was so simple, right? To know like, oh my gosh, like now, I mean, I had a sale of my course 2 days ago. It was just like, I didn't even know who this person was. They came onto my list, they came through my funnel, and they bought my thing. So that was a huge, seeing those wins right away was really helpful. And then just having a better understanding of SEO and blog, like how that really, not being a blogger in the traditional sense of I'm a blogger who shares my lifestyle tips and, has ads popping up because I get paid per view and I have sponsored posts and all that, but really a blog in the sense of, hey, there's no pressure. You don't need as much traffic because you have a conversion site, which means you need fewer people. You just need them to buy your course versus you needing traffic to get like a certain dollar amount from your ads or from your affiliate links. I think I never really realized there was the distinction between the two of those and how the strategy and the approach is totally different. And it was like such a breath of fresh air for me. I would say those were two of my like biggest immediate wins, in addition to, because I already talked about the mindset stuff again, so I didn't want to talk about that again. But I feel like those are like the two like tactical biggest wins.
Yeah. And I know that at the beginning, when you first joined the incubator, you weren't necessarily paying yourself what you wanted to be paying yourself. So
I was not.
So tell me a little bit about that.
I went into my business wanting to do it for the long haul. And so I think probably the statistics on online business probably aren't really, I mean, online businesses are still relatively new in the whole scheme of things. But I do know that in general, businesses, and this, like I said, this stat probably doesn't include online businesses, but in general, it takes 3 years to be profitable. That's kind of just like the standard, what people say. Granted, again, I realize this is probably for like restaurants when you're having a really major startup cost and having to buy equipment and food and staff. But for whatever reason, knowing that stat was actually really relieving for me rather than disheartening. And again, I'm sure online business is way shorter because your startup costs are way less and blah, blah, blah. But I went into this thinking of it as not how can I start a free business and bootstrap the whole thing? I went into it with like, okay, I want to make this a sustainable long-term business. My goal is to be profitable by year 3. And I was profitable before that, but the incubator definitely helped. That was when I really saw like the turning point. Um, and I just wasn't afraid in the beginning to invest in virtual assistants, invest in software, invest in coaching, where on paper, I didn't have any business investing in those things. On paper, I should have just been paying myself. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, cool hobby you've got there, Molly. Like you're just paying other people. You're not actually paying yourself anything. But it paid off. It really did, because I had that mindset going in, like, I'll be profitable, but I need this to be sustainable. And if it's just me, that ain't gonna happen. Um, and so that's another like thing I felt like Kate is really gifted at, is she has a really good business head on her shoulders. So looking at it from just like, hey, you wouldn't open a restaurant with zero budget. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't. And I saw Kate a few times when, you know, after she'd had the really like the launch where she was in the red of Six Figure Blog Academy. And then she invested in Amy Porterfield's $2,000 course. And I just remember thinking, whoa, that takes balls. Like good for you. Like I would have never been able to, but it was like that permission, like, oh, and then she had this insanely great launch.
Yep.
So she was just, I know I kind of veered off the question of like paying myself, but it was just like that she modeled for me like what I wanted, and it consistently reminded me. And I'll never forget Kate and Kelly Marshall, who you know. Kelly is, yes, Kelly is my bookkeeper, but way so much more. And I learned about her through Kate. She does money mindset calls with me and all that. Kate and Kelly both, without, you know, speaking to each other at the same exact time, told me because I was having a really tough, it was like right at the end of year 2. And I was like, oh, I'm just like, what am I doing this for? I'm paying everyone else. I'm not paying myself. And both of them were like, you have set yourself up. You're almost there. Like just, you're at like the top of the mountain. You just need to push over the hump and it'll snowball. And I'm like, all right, here's 2 really wise business women telling me this. I'm going to trust. And then it did. And it's just like from 2022, from 2021 to 2022, I tripled my net income. And I always talk about net because people can talk about revenue all day long. But if you're, if you're like I was in the first year or 2, my revenue was not bad, but I wasn't paying myself that. So yeah, I was able to triple my net, and, I just had so much more confidence too. Like, oh, I can do this. And I don't think without Kelly and Kate pushing me over that hump, I don't know. I wouldn't say I was ready to give up, but I was definitely feeling tired.
Oh my gosh. I can totally relate and understand. And I am like beyond words that you have an agency with 27 clients. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so how many people work in your agency now?
So Rachel and Rebecca are my 2, I don't want to say full time, but they work about 25 hours a week each. They're sisters and they're adorable, and they're my freaking angels from heaven. They are what every business owner wish they had. Like I'm in a business coaching group now, and they're talking about like toxic employees and all this stuff. I'm like, I just don't have that problem. I'm very lucky. They really care and they're incredible. So they really run the agency side. They run the ship. They know way more about clients than I do. I do more of the overarching marketing strategy and do all this like spot checking and like, hey, I noticed this client's likes or, you know, reviews or what, not reviews, comments or whatever have started to kind of decline. Let's go in and rearrange, shake some things up. So I do like the overarching strategy, but they really run the day-to-day of the agency. And then they brought on another gal who's a friend of theirs, which is really cool because she's in their town. And they brought on another gal who's a friend of theirs to like help edit videos, and they've been training them. And then we just brought on a girl just to help with Canva graphics. So she's super hyper focused. And then we just brought on 2 copywriters, and they're all very minimal. And we have one other girl who helps with special projects. So like we've started building lead magnets for clients, setting up their email list. And she kind of focuses on like the special projects. And so, yeah, it's a lot of contractors. It's a lot of moving parts, but I don't manage them all. And right now we are kind of, again, I had a call with Kelly this week. I'm in one of those points where I'm like, ooh, my percentages, because Kelly's got me hooked up on Profit First. I'm like,
I was gonna ask
yes,
you, do you follow
yes.
Profit First?
With this transition right now, I'm like, ooh, my OpEx percentage is a little higher than I want it to be. But we made the mistake in a couple months ago with taking on way too much at once. And like they were stressed, I was stressed. We lost a client because something wasn't delivered on time. And I'm like, never again. Like I'd rather take a little bit more off of what I'm paying myself for a month or two to get us back to the level, the quality of work that we like to provide for our clients, because we have a wait list. We have a wait list of 5 people who want to get started. And I'm like, I'm not starting you until, well, now we're ready. Because we've got these other people in place to support. So I think that is kind of like the biggest advice I have for any entrepreneurs is like to be able to have that. Cause I'm a very much, what do they call it? Like a quick start. Like I want things now for sure. Like I'm not a researcher. I'm like, yeah, this thing, sure. Let's do it. Let's start tomorrow.
You score very high on the disc.
Yeah. I'm like, or for on the is it Colby? This is the quick start.
Yeah. Colby. Yeah.
And so it is hard sometimes for me to step back and go, okay, this is setting me up with the solid foundation for future business. And that's another really good thing I learned in the incubator was just to see how Kate thinks about things like in a forward thinking way. And I'm not talking about like, oh, I'm going to plan out my content for 6 months. I don't mean that necessarily. I mean, just seeing how she handled her maternity leaves and how she handled, my husband's Kate's husband's having surgery and I'm going to take like a month off or whatever. I'm just like, that's cool. Like I want that.
Yeah.
She really models what she teaches.
Yeah. So we actually learned that Team KK, we practice run like clockwork.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So
she's cool. I listened to a podcast she was on. Was it y'all's, I guess? I don't know. She's yeah. What's her name?
Adrian.
Yes. Adrian.
Yeah. Yeah. So Molly, if there is one word to describe your experience inside the incubator, one word, what would that one word be?
That's like, you should have warned me about this one, Indira. That's a tough one. Did you hear how I just sighed? I think your body tells it all. It was a relief. That's probably not a word you hear a lot, but it was a relief. A lot of it was so permission giving and normalizing and just a relief.
I love that. I think Kate would really appreciate that. I love that. Okay, so this is my favorite part, which is the lightning round.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
So we're just going to run through it. First thing that comes up for you. Okay. What's your favorite way to make time for self-care while running your own business?
Scheduling time with friends. I'm a mega extrovert and I need girlfriend time.
Oh, I love that. What sign are you?
Gemini.
Of course. Air. All about, that's fantastic that you're into social media because literally Gemini is all about communication. Mm-hmm. So I love that. What's one tool or strategy that you use to help with time management?
Everything is on my Google Calendar, down to us remembering to take our trash out. My husband and we just use my work calendar for everything. And even if it's a personal event, I invite him as like an invitee in Google Calendar. Couldn't live without it.
Yeah. What's the most powerful business mindset or entrepreneurial book that you've ever read? This is the one that you keep going back to.
I love
the biggest difference in your life.
I love Get Rich Lucky Bitch, Denise Duffield Thomas.
I love her.
I just love her.
Yeah.
I love her. Yeah, she's so cool. Also, I know her virtual assistant. She used to work with me. Anyway, she is who she says she is too, which is really cool.
Oh, right. Isn't it nice when it's like exactly who they are? Yeah. Yes. I was like you, I was a girl fan of Kate before I came into Team KK2, followed her not as far back as Root and Revel. Well, I started following her when she already had success with Soul, but had not yet sold Root and Rebel. And she really is exactly
yeah.
is what you get.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't think she knows how to be. I don't think she could do it if she tried. I don't think she could try to be somebody else if she tried, which is why she and I get along so well.
Yeah. So what's your favorite quote or mantra, affirmation for when things get tough?
I like to repeat to myself a lot that I am not available for overwhelm.
Ooh, I don't think I've ever heard that. I love it.
I'm not available for it. Nope.
I'm literally writing that down. I'm not
Don't
available for
identify
overwhelm.
with it. Not available. The word and helps me out a lot too. I always try to think like, I think as humans, we want things to be this or that or black or white. The word and helps me a lot to go, well, two things can be true at the same time that are seemingly opposite. It's not
Yeah.
really an affirmation, but it's just something that's words to live by.
Yeah. Kate constantly, whenever she is telling us something, she'll say it and she'll say end. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just become part of our culture in our team that
That's a relief too, right?
of
I
course
think.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it opens up space for possibility. Yeah. There's always like end.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're on the Success with Soul podcast. What does success with soul mean to you, Molly?
We didn't start a business to just then become our own worst boss. That we are, you see those memes about entrepreneurship. It's like, I quit my job to work for myself. And then it's like, now I work all the time. So success with soul is really having that life first business to me.
I love that. Life first.
That's a Jordan Gill.
Molly,
That's a Jordan Gill quote. I can't take credit for that one.
I was going to say, I feel like I've heard that. I love Jordan Gill.
Me
She's
too.
another one that I absolutely love.
I
Girl
know.
fan
I'm
over her
obsessed with
as
her too.
well. So, Molly, where can our listeners connect with you? Where can they find you?
So I know that a lot of success with soul is social media free. You knew I was going to say that if y'all could see Indira's face. And I teach Instagram. I know, but Kate will tell you I did help her repair that relationship a lot. But I hang out on Instagram all the time. I'm at Molly A. Cahill, and that's Cahill. And I also have my own podcast called Holistic Marketing Simplified. And I'm on episode 18 at the time I'm recording this. It's pretty new. And there's actually a couple episodes I would encourage people to start with, which is if you have that fear of visibility or fear of taking yourself to the next level. My personal health and life coach, Chelsea Haynes, was on talking about the trolls and the like I said, the fear of visibility and some subconscious work you can do to get over it.
And that was episode 18?
No, I believe it's like episode 11-ish. It's with Chelsea Haynes. It's a 2-part episode, but it's really good. I think it would jive a lot with people who like Success with Soul would like this episode.
Wonderful. We'll make sure to add that to the show notes. Molly, it has been a pleasure to have you on the Success with Soul podcast.
Same.
Thank you so much.
Same. Thank you, Indira.
Okay. Bye.